Well, it's another lovely day in Tallassee, Alabama, and it's another lovely time at Tallassee Automotive. Did I work that good?
Well done. Yeah.
Was that pretty good? I'm no poet, but I'm trying. But we are at Tallassee Automotive today. Our monthly trip here to the dealership, and they've added another car.
Yes, they
in the showroom.
It's a GT. It's the Mustang GT. It looks sharp, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And the old car's still there. I say old. That's the vintage
Well, it is old, but
model.
you don't
A,
call it
I
old.
think, yeah.
Yeah, they moved
Which
it.
is not for sale.
I bet if you gave the right amount of money, it would be for sale.
And Eric shook his head. He nodded yes.
Eric.
How much?
There's always a price.
Did we ever determine if that was a Model A or a Model T?
It is
the
A.
Okay.
Yeah.
Couldn't remember. A.
25,000.
25? Okay.
That's not bad.
Well, it didn't come with air conditioning, but
Well,
Pop the top. Leave that top down. It comes with AC.
I might have to see if it can run.
25. He said 25K.
25K, and it's in mint condition.
It is.
Everything's original
it looks like
for the most part. Now this Mustang though.
that's the car.
I know that everything's original in that. Everything is about speed now.
You think that'll go for 25K as well?
Could we get it for 25?
Nah, you
No,
like that
he's backing off on that.
That was more like 78.
$78,000 or 78 horsepower.
That thing's loaded too.
You don't say $1,000.
I'm sorry. You're once again you're having to teach me the terminology, what to say, what not to say.
This is the actual GT350R.
That's the 350R, and it is jet black. In fact, pretty much everything on it is black except the headlights, which is a good thing because you don't want black headlights. Is the interior black? It
Looks that way.
black and red.
It's two-seater.
It's a two-seater, so no back seat. So grandma and grandpa, it's a perfect car for you. And what? You don't think they buy them now?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, come on. They're the ones that got the money anyway. And it's got a spoiler on the back. So yeah, it's a beautiful car. You had told me, I don't know, a week or so ago that you can now see the Jerry Seinfeld has been running these shows on Netflix.
Yeah.
Comedians riding in cars and going to get coffee. I don't know what the exact name of it is. And I watched my first one of the new series last night with Eddie Murphy.
I haven't seen that one.
And they get in this, I think it was a Porsche. And it was originally, this particular model was originally built to go on the Grand Le Mans. But they decided to make them where they could sell them to the public. So, but it's all about speed. Everything's about speed now. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
I think it is.
What's the coolest part of that show? Is it the cars or what?
It depends. I've only seen. I didn't watch all of the last series, the last season, whatever you want to call it. I only watched certain. There's certain comedians that I like. Some of them I don't particularly care to watch. He's got one or two on this particular series that I will not watch. I just don't like them, period. I don't like them personally. But I've always liked Eddie Murphy. I had no idea that Eddie Murphy and Jerry Seinfeld started at the same time. In fact,
Didn't know
their
that either.
very first – have you watched – I don't want to give too much away.
I haven't seen that one.
Their very first gig was at some comedy club, and they were on the same night. And apparently they were on several nights together.
Well, Eddie Murphy's career took off a lot quicker than
Most definitely.
Jerry Seinfeld, of course.
Yeah, he got the Saturday Night Live gig, and then he got to do movies. But that's a good question. Who do you think had the better career? That's a tough question.
Really, you would say as a full catalog, it would be Eddie Murphy. But
he has
with Jerry
been like,
Seinfeld, this Seinfeld thing is bigger than anything.
I think if
Murphy
you went,
ever did, I would say.
Yeah. Now I don't. Again,
Eddie Murphy was
age will play a role in this question. But if you ask somebody if you would prefer to see Jerry Seinfeld or Eddie Murphy, if you could only pick one comedian to watch, who would it be? I bet you Seinfeld would go before Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, it just
I
depends
think
on
he
your
would get more
taste.
votes.
They're both funny.
Yeah, and you're right. They're different in their style of comedy. But anyway, that's on Netflix. We're not here necessarily to talk about that, although I guess we could because there's not a whole else going on here in the world of sports. But I was able to pick up a couple of things as I was getting ready for the show today. NFL training camps are opening today and yesterday. I'm sure we got a few NFL fans, and we're going to sit here and talk about that because we don't care. But it's just another sign that football season is almost here. Also, Arizona, the University of, not the Cardinals, University of Arizona, they start practice today. They will be playing in Hawaii on August the 24th, so they get to start a week earlier than everybody else. So does Florida, so does Miami. I guess Hawaii does as well. So it's here. Practices have begun officially, although maybe your team hasn't started, but college football practice is here and it's underway. And then I get an email today that Alabama will open practice, and they have set fan day for Saturday, August 3rd. That's a week from this Saturday. The running of the Gumps. We still calling it that?
That's what you call it.
I actually did not come up with that. I'm not going to take credit. But we had Rodney Orr on Tuesday. That's what he called it. So I figured if he can call it running of the Gumps, then I can. So, but Alabama opens practice Friday, and they will. I'm sure they can't divide it up anymore. You remember they used to do. You remember that they would have the newcomers in. I don't know if they had them in first or second, but they would have the regulars, the guys who had been through it already. They would have them in first, and then they would bring in the newcomers. They don't do that. They're not allowed to do that anymore. There are regulations that don't allow more than one practice a day. So, but they have sent the information for Fan Day. And by the way, that'll be from 2:30 until 4:30 on Saturday, and it will be held at Bryant-Denny Stadium.
Have you ever done one of those?
No, and never will.
Fan day in your life?
No,
Never.
never.
I must admit I have.
Well,
when I was young.
Yeah. How old were you?
Yesterday when I was young.
Don't know that song.
Never heard that one?
Don't
That's Roy Clark.
Oh, maybe that's why. Well, anyway, so how old were you?
I was a teenager, and we went up, and I'm trying to remember all the guys that were there.
What year would that have been? Give me a circa.
Like late 80s.
So is that Mike Dubois?
No, the coach was Bill Curry.
Coach was Bill Curry.
You think you might be getting on this week, right?
Next week.
Next week. Okay.
Well, I just sent a note to someone. We're going to try to get him on.
He was credentialed at media days. I saw him thumbing through, and I saw his name. You know, he's a member of the media now.
I did not know that.
So he's no longer a coach.
Well, I knew that.
Yeah. But anyway,
he was also the last player taken in the 1960 NFL draft.
That we've all talked about that, and that's one of his great stories. But what I do remember going. I don't remember trying to get to the coach. That's what they all run for Saban, the running of the Gumps.
Oh, definitely. And now Tua.
And Tua, and we saw that Tua was just as big as Saban last week in media
definitely.
days. But we were there just getting to stand with the players. Don't really remember doing autographs. We did pictures. They'd pose for photos. I didn't do autographs.
And to me, that would be a bigger deal.
Yeah, and I can go back and pull some up. I found some. What was funny is you never know who you might see and who might become something. And these young guys, some of these guys are just coming in. Nobody really cares for them much. They don't know much about them. They just know they were a highly sought recruit or this or that. And I remember Gary Hollingsworth was not the quarterback. And nobody was paying him any attention, so we went over and got pictures taken with him.
Not realizing.
And then the next thing you know, the guy's a star.
Yeah.
But, got his chance. Lost the helmet. Where's my helmet? Put him in the game. Didn't even know where the helmet was. And
was that against Kentucky? Who was that against?
I'm trying to remember when he got inserted into the lineup after the injury, and he went on to have that unbelievable season in '89. That year was unique for me for a lot of different reasons. First of all, I bought my first house in 1989. I was working in Birmingham, and I was also football officiating in 1989. I didn't get to see very many football games on Saturdays because I was normally calling Pee Wee football games. But
and this is before ESPN was really doing what it's doing now. You still had, of course, you had the Jefferson Pilot game on at 11:30, right?
That's right.
But you didn't get to see you still didn't get to see, like now, all the games that were not on TV. So how many games would be on TV on average for Alabama during, let's say, 1989? About 5? A couple would be on ABC.
Yeah, you had about half the season.
Yeah, roughly 5, maybe 6 games. But if I remember correctly, that game was on 11:30. Now, why am I going here? I'll explain. I'm calling a game somewhere. I couldn't tell you where I was, somewhere in the Birmingham metro area. And there were 2 games that I remember. One was the Kentucky game, I believe it was that year. And another one was the Ole Miss game where they fell behind, 28-0 or some ridiculous, and they ended up coming back and beating Ole Miss like 52-28 or some crazy score. Both of those games, we're calling a Pee Wee football game. And it doesn't matter. There's always going to be somebody. You used to have those little portable TVs. You remember?
Yeah.
They worked on a battery.
Yeah.
I had one. I didn't have one. I inherited one in marriage. It doesn't work today. It wouldn't work anyway because everything's digital. But everybody would have somebody at those games would have one of those televisions. And I remember calling a game. I don't remember what age group. They were probably 8, 9 years old. And at halftime is about the time when Gary Hollingsworth gets the call to go into the game. And almost to a man, everybody's standing around watching this little bitty, smaller than our computer screens, watching, trying to figure out what's going on. And I remember somebody saying, "Who the blank is that?"
Yeah, who's that Gary Hollingsworth?
And I'm like, gee whiz.
Well, but he kind of put himself on the map when Alabama got down against Ole Miss, like 21-3 at halftime or something, and ended up scoring. I think it was 21-0. Scored 62.
It was a lot.
It was 62 answered points.
Yeah, 62 unanswered. I said, I didn't give him enough credit.
Yeah, 62 unanswered in Oxford, and this game was on the radio, and I remember that because I was with a huge Alabama fan. And his dad was a bigger Alabama fan than he was, and we were listening to it on the radio, and they went down 21-0. He got up and walked off and said, "That's your ball game, boys," and left. And it was funny how about
and
an
that
hour
was 89,
later,
right?
It was 89.
Yeah.
About an hour later, he shows up again, and
he's all happy now, right?
It changed his story a little bit, but it seems like that Kentucky game. It may have been 88 or 87 when Curry was there.
I don't remember what year it was.
It was the one where the holder, made the play at the end of the game and beat them on a kind of a threw it over his shoulder type play, and they caught it on a field goal that went wild or something.
Now, was that the one that Kentucky won or Alabama won?
Alabama won that one.
Okay.
Now, I'm not sure what year that was.
I just remember who was he was the all-everything quarterback that came in.
Jeff Dunn, wasn't it?
Jeff Dunn.
Yeah.
Why I don't remember that name, I don't know.
I can't remember.
But he was the one that kind of saved him that day. I don't remember if it was 88 or 80. I just remember it happening. I remember I was calling a game. And in that case, everybody stopped to watch the end of that. I mean, it was almost like our game stopped.
Yeah.
Nobody was watching the kids. They were watching that game on somebody's little bitty TV. It's just interesting how people do that still. I do that. I mean, I do it on my phone now. Whenever I go to a game, a lot of times, depending on what game it is, I'll have something else on my phone, and that's kind of sad, but that's true. But that goes back to what Fitzgerald for Northwestern. I played that clip from him yesterday about saying how everybody's looking at their phones all the time now, and that's why you can't get the excitement, or you don't get as many people interested in college football like you used to. And I think he's got some points. I think he's valid.
That's a good point. How much? I'm guilty of it. How much of a football game do you just dedicate now to completely, exclusively? And it may not be your phone; it may be something else.
Yeah, I don't do it as much. To make the point. Now, granted, it was pretty much over at halftime or pretty close after. You know, the championship game last year. I was working on something in my office, and had that game been closer, I'm sure I would have paid more attention to it. But by the time Clemson had got out to the big lead, I wasn't really watching the game much. I had it on,
yeah,
but I wasn't really paying attention to it. Now, there's been other games where I was trying to do something and the game got closer than I thought it would get, and I'd end up watching it more. But I don't know. I'm not as intent watching games as I used to be. And I don't know if it's age. I don't know if it's my interest is lagging. I don't know what it is. I don't know how you are. You got kids. You got kids running around,
I'm
and
the
that
same
might have
way.
some. And I don't know how much your kids watch games, but
A little bit, not as much as I did when I was their age.
what age were you when you became intent on watching? In other words, if there was a Alabama, Auburn, whatever football game on, and you knew it was going to be on, what was the age where you knew?
I got to tell you, I remember it
when
when I was about 5 or 6 years old.
that young.
Yeah, because I was really into it. I mean, and the games weren't on that much, so I was so excited to get it. And
Sure, yeah.
And I was upset when they lose and that kind of thing. But yeah, that's kind of, I guess that would be an anomaly for most people.
That is
people
very
would,
young.
Yeah, I was really into football. I couldn't stand it when it was not on, and when it came on, that's all I did.
Did you do that for every game? Because
Yes.
there was one game on every
I
Saturday.
never missed a game.
So you were
Yeah.
there. You were watching.
You
no
better
matter who
believe.
it was.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't do that now.
It's funny.
I
how-
watch them, but
Yeah.
I'm not like going crazy that oh boy, the game's on today. And these were some times when the teams weren't as
I
good.
can't do it anymore. If I sat and watched from 11 a.m. to midnight, my mind would be, it'd be gone. It'd be jelly.
It does fry you after a while.
It
Hey, we got
does.
pizza here. It just
Oh.
arrived. Come by and see
Well,
us
you
at
better
Tallassee.
hurry.
And by
Yeah.
the way, I'm checking out our Tallassee Times TV YouTube channel if you want to try it.
You're running
You
a
can see
test
live video.
trial because we're getting ready for football season, right?
That is right.
There you go.
It's working.
All right. Well, the pizza's here. We're here. Tallassee Automotive is where here is. Come by and see us. We'll be back. Stay tuned. River Region Sports continues. Well, I was enjoying my pizza. Didn't realize we were back. Welcome back. River Region Sports. We're at Tallassee Automotive. And yes, we have pizza. And yes, it's delicious.
Get it while it's hot.
Definitely. And you've already burned the roof of your mouth.
Yeah, it was
I understand. I've learned to take smaller bites when food is hot.
That works?
It does. You don't burn your mouth quite as much. So glad to have some pizza if you want to come by while, as the old saying goes, while supplies last. We would love for you to come by. We're right here in the showroom. You can't miss us. And I'm sure these guys would love to, while you're here, show you a vehicle, something that you might be interested in. And whatever that vehicle might be, whatever your interest is, whether it be a SUV, a truck, they've got, of course, Jeeps here. And I'm just looking out here out on the lot, and I'm seeing all kinds of great trucks and SUVs, and I got it for your price range. So come by and see them, and I think you'll be happy you did. So I just received confirmation that we are going to have Bill Curry, former head coach at the University of Alabama, former head coach at Georgia Tech, former head coach at Kentucky. Did I leave anybody out?
That's all I know of.
Okay, at least from the college standpoint. But he is going to be on the program this coming Tuesday. So we look forward to talking to him. He is part of the College Football Foundation. And, of course, this is a big year, 150 years celebration of college football. I'm really looking forward to it. And I think part of the reason I am, and Michael, I think you're in the same boat. And this is something that I heard somebody say earlier, and I agree with them, and I might play it for you a little bit later on, talking about fans in the South when it comes to college football. We love our history. We love our history of college football. And we enjoy hearing from someone like a Bill Curry or, anybody who, whether or not you like them, you still want to hear from them, and you get the chance to talk about certain things. And this is also the 100th anniversary of NFL football. I can't wait to ask him about playing with who I think will be considered the top players in the NFL history. And they're going to release their top 100 players, one of those obviously being Bart Starr. If he's not on the list, then the list should not even be used, to me, if you ask me. But I have no doubt he'll be there. But I got all kind of questions that are circling in my head. And here we are. We turn right around and we're talking about a season in which he was coaching in 1988, 1989. I don't know that we'll get to that with him, but we'll have plenty to talk to about. Something tells me you might sneak in the studio Tuesday afternoon and be a part of that. You're welcome to it if you want to.
Ask him if you still got those tight Alabama sweaters and Ray-Bans anywhere.
I bet he does. When he starts his Hall of Fame, that needs to be at the front. Because how many of those sweaters did you see people wearing? A lot.
Well, see, a friend of mine.
And by the way, they were hideous. I don't mind saying.
I know. He's not with me anymore. He was at Alabama. He was a manager, Jeremy Norrell. He used to set up Bill Curry's locker before the games. He would get those sweaters and the shades, the Ray-Bans, I guess. And have
he had a special place, like a little box.
Everything had to be set up perfectly for him before the game, and he was the guy that handled that. And he was a manager for the Alabama football team.
Interesting.
So he said.
Well, that was he would know that.
I believe him. Yeah, I believed him. It was pretty interesting to hear that.
Well, yeah, exactly.
That's my chore. I got to get Coach Saban ready. If you're today, who's that guy doing it? You think he's got a manager doing that for him?
No.
Miss Terry? You think Miss Terry puts out his wardrobe?
More than likely. Of course, I think everything's color coordinated now, is it not, on the sideline?
Yeah,
if they're home, they wear
usually
white. If they're on the road, they wear
coach
red.
Sometimes would look different than the assistants.
Rarely. Yeah. But it's kind of like in baseball now. The major league managers, they don't always wear the team uniform or the team jersey. They wear like a pullover jacket or, something that's not exactly what everybody else wears, right? I mean, that's pretty much kind of how it works. So, anyway, but yeah, Bill Curry, plan on listening Tuesday. We look forward to having him on the program, and we will. I'm sure we'll get into some very good conversation. The one thing I've always enjoyed about Bill Curry, I didn't necessarily think he was a great coach, but the guy can talk.
I knew you were going to say that.
I mean, he can.
Yeah.
He can tell a story as good as anybody.
He was as good as it was. Though.
Yeah. So,
another thing he did well, beat Tennessee.
He did that.
He had no
and
trouble.
Penn State.
Couldn't beat Auburn, but he could beat Tennessee. And you're right, Penn State, when they played Penn State back in that day.
He was an anomaly. Not an anomaly. That's not the word. He was a conundrum as a coach because, and you and I have a fellow worker, Roger Schultz, who did not have a lot of respect for Bill Curry, and I can say that publicly because he says that publicly.
He played for. Well, he was recruited by Perkins, played for Curry, and got to play with Stallings.
Right.
And everybody loved Gene Stallings.
Right. And still do.
Yeah.
But Bill Curry was one of those coaches that did things that were kind of out of the ordinary. What I mean by that is, if you, in case of Roger, he would know, didn't do things quite like any other college football coach did. I think some players had problems with that, but at the same time, I wonder if he really recognized, in the case of the Auburn game, if he really recognized what that rivalry meant, or if maybe it meant too much.
Well, and there's another part of that too. Auburn was pretty good back then.
Yes,
they
were
on a streak of
that
SEC
was Pat Dye's
championships.
heyday.
Yeah, and I don't think Tennessee was all that great. So I think there's a Tennessee was good, but they weren't a national championship contender, and Auburn was the SEC. This is when they went through a run of like 4 SEC titles under Pat Dye. So it's a little unfair, I guess, for him. And I say the same. Things come in spurts. If you want to look at who's dominated series, I mean, Auburn didn't beat Alabama in the 70s because Alabama was that good. It was an Alabama thing.
Well, they beat them once.
They did.
Punt, Bama, punt.
That's right. But I'm just saying, had the long streak of games from that stretch into the 1980s until Pat Dye got there, and he had some success. And Auburn under Tommy Tuberville, I think, took advantage of Alabama at a low time. I mean, Alabama wasn't very consistent. Of course, went through some probation there, too. I mean, it goes in cycles. And it's a cycle now. Alabama's winning again for the most part. How much longer is that going to last? I guess as long as Nick Saban's around.
Right. Did you hear what is the one thing that Pat Dye is remembered for saying when he first got the job at Auburn? How long is it going to take to beat Alabama? And what was his answer?
60 minutes.
Let me read you what Jimbo Fisher said last week at SEC Media Days. Of course, the second-year coach at Texas A&M. He was asked, what's it going to take for one of the, I don't know what you want to call them, former assistants, proteges, whatever. What is it going to take to beat Nick Saban? Here's his answer. As far as Nick goes, what's it going to take is going to take 60 minutes of football.
He stole that one from Pat.
We all know Alabama established itself as a great program. Nick is a great coach. What's it going to take? 60 minutes of great football. And I actually wrote a story here about what Jimbo Fisher had to say, and I did refer back to Pat Dye saying that back in, what would that have been, 1981? I guess he got the job in 81. Yeah. His first time to coach against Bryant in Alabama was 81. So, yeah. So, you're right. It was a tough time, but we know Alabama fans are hard to please, and they expect nothing less than to be playing for championships. And that was the irony, is that in 1989, Bill Curry had Alabama 10-0 going into the last game of the season, which was against Auburn, and happened to be the first ever game played between the two programs at Jordan-Hare Stadium. And I just remember, there was no way. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. There was no way Alabama was going to win that football game. And I don't know how you feel about it. We really hadn't talked about that, but I remember.
You can ask Bill.
I will ask Bill just how hard how hard it, and they had a chance, right? I mean, it was somewhat
For a
close
little while.
for a little while. So anyway, that'll be Tuesday. When we come back, and again, we're at Tallassee Automotive here in Tallassee. LSU, we've heard about their new locker rooms. They've redone it. They've given everybody a place to lay down. Well, it is creating a firestorm not only on campus with some other departments, but some other places are a little out of joint about what happened and what's going on with the college football experience. We'll get into that when we come back. Stay tuned.
Give me another slice. How about two? Thank you there, partner. Still a pizza left.
My timing has not been good so far on these breaks. I apologize. We do have pizza, and so I was grabbing me another slice, and it's very good. We still have some left, but you better hurry because I'm still hungry. So come on by and check it out. We are at Tallassee Automotive on this Thursday afternoon, as we do every last Thursday of the month. We come by and check things out here, and as I've already mentioned, they've put a new car in the not the studio. This is a showroom. So very impressed with. Do you notice how the brake pads have a red?
Yeah,
they're painted red.
Yeah, everything's set to be sporty.
Extremely.
Yeah,
That's impressive.
Yeah, the tires look great.
Yeah,
all by
I love those tires. Michelin tires, or as my grandmother used to call them, Michelin tires. She did. She really did. Anyway, but we're here until 2 o'clock, and we'd love for you to come by and check things out and check out all the great vehicles that they have here. Wait a minute. I'm not supposed to use that term. I apologize.
Automobile.
Yeah, exactly. All right. LSU, if you didn't hear, built they updated their locker. Do you ever see pictures of this? There's a picture.
That's the first I've seen of it.
That's what it looks like. I'm sorry, those of you who are listening can't see it, but maybe you've already seen it.
Google it.
But basically, it's a chair that reclines into what would you call that? It's not really a bed.
It's almost like a.
They call it a pod, but there's not a lot of room to move around. If you like to, as I said the other day, I would feel claustrophobic if I lay down in this thing.
How much one of those things cost? Just one, and they got tons of them.
$500-$600 maybe.
Is that what you think?
I don't know. I don't know how to price something like that.
How they got the?
There's not a lot of there's. Do they have to pay their own license fee when they put a logo on something in the locker room?
Pay it to themselves.
I wonder. Anyway, it's and it's got a almost a wall on either side, and then something I can't really tell what that is. It looks like it's got a place to hold like a tablet or something. Anyway, and see, this is where I'm having a problem. Is there a place? Is this the locker? Or is the locker, because you see they don't have, I don't think it's the locker. I think this is just a room full of places where these players can recline. Is that a good way to look at it?
It's hard for me to tell from that picture, but
I don't know.
There couldn't be a lock. You're saying there's a locker in? They say it's a locker room.
Well, but I don't think this is. I think this is the.
I don't think it slides underneath. I don't think all that stuff can fit in there. Your stuff.
I don't think you could.
But they got equipment room for everything. You wouldn't keep that in your locker, would you?
I wouldn't think so.
I think there's equipment room for that stuff.
Yeah. So anyway, it's not like you can go to your locker, pull out this thing, and you're laying down. It's not that way. But you know what? They still have it, and everybody's talking about it still. And I've read about. I've read some of the comments. Someone I saw it this morning. Somebody from LSU, not an athlete. It might have just been just another student. Posted a picture of a library or a room in a library, and it looked like it was in bad shape. But what they didn't tell you is they're revamping that particular library, and it's going to look better than actually but the point that we're trying to make is, here are all these football players getting all this new stuff in their locker room, and we can't even get a decent library. In fact, she made that comment. And that was answered with, I don't know how many LSU fans who said, hey, the reason why you're getting a new library is because LSU Athletics is donating money to the education side of the university. I just saw Jay Billis. He made some comment about the money. And this has once again created that thought process that, well, if they've got enough money to build a locker room, they've got enough money to pay the players. And I'm like, why does it always come back to money? Why can't they just look at something, which, by the way, I don't know this for a fact, but I would guarantee you that the money that paid for these new pods or whatever they are was money that was donated privately. It didn't come out of anybody's fund. It didn't even probably came out of the athletic fund. It was money that somebody went out and raised so that they could do this. That's normally how they do things. You agree or disagree with that?
Yeah, the donors usually cover the costs. I mean, unless he's got $21 million he wants to give and then go on a political rant.
Yeah,
like it did the guy at the University of Alabama now go up against. But yeah, there's a lot of donors that help in the cause. Sure.
Well, when you hear about upgrades to facilities, which that's what this would be, and they have Alabama right now has begun a campaign. I think they want to come up with something like $60 million to help improve the basketball facility.
Oh yeah.
And who knows what all that includes, but it's not like the folks are walking around campus holding out a bucket saying, would you please donate? They're going to some of the biggest spenders and the biggest supporters of the athletic department in the country. And it's not just somebody who lives in Birmingham. They're going all over the place.
Yeah.
And so when I see people complaining about how money's being spent or where money's going, no one seems to really want to admit that it's not about the athletic department versus the rest of the university. It's about what people are doing, what people want to see. And let's also not forget, every time LSU is on TV, they're advertising for the entire university.
Right.
But nobody listens to me.
Somebody's got to complain about everything, don't they?
Yes, because of the money. It's all about the Benjamins, right?
Sure.
I mean, that's what this is. We don't have enough money. We can't do this because we can't go out and get the funds. Well, you know what? I think people are looking for ways in which they can help the university. Maybe if you call them, maybe if you go to them and say, "Hey, we need a new library. We need a new kitchen. We need this." Nobody's just going to randomly give you money. You got to tell them what it's for. And the athletic departments are doing that. Now, it's easy to sell an athletic program because you can see results on the field. You can't necessarily see results of a new library, can you?
It's hard.
You're not going to. I mean, the answer's no.
Yeah, some person's going to say, yeah, well, that helped my education, though.
And I could go the normal way of an LSU student and say, well, they don't know how to read anyway. But I'm not going to go there. But anyway, I didn't mean it. That was a joke. I get sick and tired of people throwing money into an argument or into a debate because that right now, or maybe it forever, is an emotional thing. Who has more money? Who gets this? Who gets that? It's all about what's the word? Fair.
I knew you were going to do it.
I had to go there because everything's about what's fair. And what we can't seem to get over is you can't create fairness. It's not possible. As much as you think you can, as much as you can go on and on about whether or not something is fair or not fair, you're not going to be able to make it fair for everybody. It's not feasible. And so anytime I start hearing people complaining about, well, they got this or they got that, I'm thinking, okay, well, you can either go out and try to make it better, or you can get on Twitter, or you can get on some social media, and you can turn it into something that it's not, which is what people like to do. And that's what I'm tired of. I don't know why I keep coming back to it. It seems like once a week I have to talk about it, but it continues to be what I think is a ruin to athletics. I think we're seeing it more in the professional ranks. This team's got more money they can go out and spend on players. This team doesn't have the support of fans. Again, that goes right down to the smallest high school in whatever state you want to pick. It is part of everything that is everything. In athletics, you see it more because you can see the tangible item of wins and losses. And I've already seen LSU fans say, well, we're going to beat Alabama now because we got a place for these kids to lay down. Now, that's a thought that I hadn't given.
Well, you know what's going to happen, though.
I hate to hear it, but
you know what's going to happen. This is the first, but it won't be the last.
Oh,
There'll be several more that'll do this because it gives LSU some sort of edge.
I don't know that LSU's the first one to do this.
Yeah,
I
haven't heard of it anywhere else.
But no, you're right. This is it's unusual to see, and again, if you haven't seen it, I can't really describe it. It kind of, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of something you'd see in a science fiction show, where somebody is flying to Mars and they got to sleep for 3 years before they get there, and so they have this thing they pull out and they they put all their stuff on. That's what it looks like to me. But it's unique, and LSU's got a lot of play from it this week. I give them credit. Do I think it's going to help them win football games? No.
Who knows, though? It might bring in another recruit. Possibly.
Maybe.
But
if a recruit is deciding whether or not to go to LSU or some other school, and the selling point is, I have a place to lie down.
It's the little things.
I don't know that I'm wanting that player. I want a player who doesn't want to lay down. You get what I'm saying?
I know. Now,
that's kind of how I see it.
What's you got to answer this question. Are you praying in this picture, or are you cleaning off pizza from your shirt?
That would be the latter.
Okay.
Because
I took that picture.
I should be praying as opposed to.
You dropped it, I guess, right as
so that's why you laughed when you saw what happened.
No, I laughed when I saw this just a minute ago. That I didn't realize that was the picture until I saw you bow down.
Fortunately, I did not get any on my shirt, which is a shock.
I thought, it was on the napkin. It looks like.
Yeah,
Just barely missed the shirt.
it was like hanging on the edge of the napkin, and it was a pepperoni, so it had weight to it. But I rarely, and I got this from my dad, I rarely eat a meal without getting something on my shirt.
My wife does
this.
the same. Here, I got it, and this thing does live when it shoots it. So there you go.
Oh, great! Oh, wow. At least I didn't say anything bad. Did I say anything bad?
I don't think you did. You just kind of trying to figure out what happened there.
I'm like, where'd it go? This morning, I'm sitting here. Not here. I'm sitting at my desk in my office, and I dropped a pen. I was writing something, and I dropped it. It took me 5 minutes to find that pen. It had, you know how things do. They tend to find their way underneath something else,
Yeah.
Like you drop a gym clip, and you'll never find it because it somehow figured out a way to hide from you. Well, this pen, which is my favorite pen that I have and I own, it'll never leave my office. It ended up somehow in between these two books that I had on the floor. And there was no way you could see it unless you got down on your hands and knees and looked down there. And part of my problem is I don't normally do that. I normally I'm just like standing up. I move stuff around. That's the story of my life. And so when I dropped this pepperoni and a little bit of cheese off the pizza.
You thought it was between the two books.
Where's the first place I looked? On the shirt. Because I knew that's where it was.
Yeah.
And when I saw it on the napkin, I was relieved because I'm like, for once,
Yeah.
I didn't. You keep looking at my shirt.
I was just checking to see if it was
This
the
is
same.
the area where it fell.
Yeah.
I don't see anything.
I think you got lucky.
I did get lucky. I don't disagree with you there. So anyway, that's why I was looking the way I did. Did you put that online?
Yes.
And you got me last week with the steak.
That's right, Western Sizzling.
And you also got me with that new app that they have where you make
old
people
man.
look old.
We've had fun with it.
And I look pretty old. Have there been any comments about that from any of your?
I had somebody call me, Richie Patterson, tell me that was not Western Sizzling. That was the one thing.
Okay.
I don't know if we got any comments. Maybe a couple of chuckles. The laughing
That's
emoji.
it?
Yeah, on the picture.
I'm feeling a little disappointed.
You wanted more.
Well, I mean, yeah. I would expect more, wouldn't you?
Well, I think one of my sons, Daniel, said, I don't see the difference.
Oh!
I'm sorry.
That hurts.
I think you did.
He's not even trying to be funny, is he?
No, he wasn't. That's just it. That's what hurts, That hurts even
does
worse.
hurt. Well, look, I know
It's the same about me, I think. But,
well, of course, I did see this. Somebody did one of two older people.
Yeah.
It made them look younger.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, they really looked old.
They were old. They were like in their 80s.
This is supposed to make you look 80 years old.
Yeah, well, they're already 80, so it made them look younger than 80. And I'm like, I think you should do this to all your photographs. Because you now look younger than you really are. Now, they have a younger side, too, which did you find it?
There it is. Gary liked it.
Of course. Wow.
You look older there, Graham. You look kind of like Coach
I
Bryant.
am old.
You look like Coach Bryant.
No.
Look at it. In the face.
I'm not seeing that. I look like a fat old man is what I look like. Bags under my eyes.
What do you think, Curry?
Curry will tell
The
me
old
the
man
truth.
app.
What do you think?
Face app.
Have you seen the old man app?
He's seen it.
Well,
They say don't put it on there. The Russians are hacking you now.
Yeah, they're hacking everything anyway. So he didn't answer your question.
There's Coach Bryant. You don't think you kind of resemble him?
I don't look anything like Coach Bryant.
Two Coach Bryants.
Two Coach Bryants.
It
Did you
is.
see it? He just wanted to get away and eat his pizza, so that's why he said what he said. That's kind of how that works. Exactly. Anyway, I forgot totally what we were talking about. It doesn't matter. The music's playing, thank God. All
Best
right,
part of all of last week right there when these two dogs went at it.
Did they really go at it?
They were trying.
Seriously.
Tiger
when you
Jake
say
and
go
the
at it,
Bandy
you mean
Pug.
fighting, right?
Tiger Jake, the Bandy Pug. Yes.
I think we know who to win that one. Even though the Auburn dog is smaller, the other one's a Vandy. Oh boy!
You getting comments now?
What I didn't. You pulled it away before I got.
Look, he already got something on his shirt.
Thank you, Jay. You're a real kind person. All right, yeah, that's right. I mean, that was within 15 minutes of the show, and I'm wearing my lunch. We'll take a break. We'll come back, and we'll get into something else besides what I'm eating and wearing, and whether or not I look old. I got Eric's looking at his shirt. It's kind of like when somebody yawns, everybody else yawns. When you mention somebody's got something on the shirt, what's the first thing they do? They look at their shirt and make sure they don't have anything. We'll be back. All right, welcome back on this Thursday, last Thursday of the month. That means we are at Tallassee Automotive. We'll be here for another hour. I've almost finished my pizza. You finished yours.
I've eaten enough. I'm going to stop. That's why I hope somebody eats the last of them so I don't go back
I
for
don't
another
think we'll
trip.
have any problem. We'll
We've only got a couple left.
I think we'll figure out a way to find. We could have one of our.
I could eat a box of pizza. I mean, I love pizza. It's one of my favorite things.
You can eat a whole pizza,
I could. It wouldn't be a problem.
and you wouldn't
I've
pay for it
I've
later.
eaten half a pizza easy.
I
here
mean,
today.
well, that's 4 pieces.
And I'm just saying during. And people that are watching the video that I put up on Tallassee Times TV, I mean, they'll say, well, you've eaten more than that. It may have been more than that.
I don't. I think I've had 3 pieces, and that's my stopping. I could probably eat 4, but I would be miserable if I did, and I don't want to be miserable. I'm miserable enough as it is. I don't want to be more miserable.
I'm not
Make
going to be
myself
miserable.
full.
I ate
Yeah.
more than 4.
But you think you could, if you had to, you could eat an entire pizza.
I'm not full.
You're not full.
No, and I've eaten 4 or 5 pieces.
4 or 5
already.
pieces.
Yeah, I mean, I could eat a
Well,
couple more.
and yours you're like Barney Five. Yours immediately turns to energy.
I don't know. It doesn't.
Yeah.
Not anymore. It
Huh?
might have at one time. No, it doesn't.
Can we check that?
I wish it did, but it doesn't.
Here's what we should have done. We should have put you on a scale before you started eating,
Yeah.
and then put you on the scale like 10, 15 minutes after you finished eating to see if you gain any weight.
When those guys are in the competitive eating competitions at Coney Island eating hot dogs, they've gotten their stomach empty and ready.
They have done something that you cannot eat
that much. 'Cause
that
your body
much.
will only hold so much.
Right.
You know, they stretch your stomach out by
I
training.
think that's what they do. I
But
think
then they
stretch
come
out,
in and they say, I haven't eaten in 2 or 3 days, and then they just go crazy. So they come in and they eat. If you eat 70 hot dogs, you've eaten how many pounds?
What was the
of hot dogs?
winning? What was the winning?
70. He's eaten 70.
He ate 70 this time.
Like,
No,
yeah,
this is not
It
Kobayashi.
may be
This is
70.
the other guy.
It may be, I think it was 70 or 71.
Joey what is it?
Chestnut.
Chestnut.
So
Who sounds like a race car driver.
yeah,
by the way.
with you think about the hot dog, the weenie, and the bun, plus the water that they.
And they douse
it
it in
down with-
water so it'll go down quicker.
How much
Makes me
weight?
sick.
How much?
thinking about
It's gross to watch. How much weight is in 70 hot dogs in the water? And it's got to be.
10
what?
pounds.
Is you think it's 10?
That would be my guess. 10 pounds of food.
Mhm.
And how long do they eat it? How long does the
10 minutes.
It's in 10 minutes.
Yeah, I think it's
so
10.
they're eating a pound of food a minute.
Yeah.
How many hot dogs in a minute? If you eat 70,
Well, you're on pace. To
that's
eat,
8, a little bit less than 8 hot dogs.
well, 7 a minute at 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So
Okay. That's right.
quick math there.
Thank you. I don't do quick math. I don't do math.
I mean, if I ate 7 hot dogs and just went at my own pace,
Could you eat 7 hot dogs?
I could eat
You
7.
could eat 7 hot dogs at a
Yeah,
sitting.
I know I could.
I'm getting sick just thinking about
I ate
that.
2 or I think I ate 3 the other day.
3 is not 7.
Yeah, but I could have kept like it's just
You
again,
could have kept going.
I could have done it. Yeah. I mean, I was full at 3.
Did you eat anything else with them?
Pretty much that was it. Yeah.
So you didn't have the side.
It was heating up.
You didn't have any
stuff-
beans
I had
or
'em off, no, gosh, no. I had them off the grill the day before.
with,
and I heated them up the
with
next
bread
day.
or without.
I had the bread, but I tore a lot of the bread off because I don't like a lot of bread, and gave it to the dog, which is not good for him either.
No, dogs don't need to eat bread.
They don't need to, but
don't
he
eat-
liked it.
Don't give your dog bread.
Yeah,
Yeah, they'll eat anything.
just
But
about.
just
yeah.
about.
Except black olives. This one will not eat black
Oh,
olives.
really? I've never tried.
He'll
to
chew it
give-
and it'll drop it right out. of there.
Okay. Well, there's not a whole lot of flavor in a black olive, so I get it. So you think you could eat 7 hot
That's
dogs?
just it. I think I could eat 7, and I think if I had 20 minutes, I could handle it and be comfortable, not overdoing it. I mean, I can't
This
do
is
what these guys do.
disgusting.
I can't do
not,
what
not,
these guys.
Not that you would eat 7 hot dogs.
Well, you
but that
saw me eat how many of those White Castle burgers that time up there when we went?
Oh, I don't remember.
It was 10.
Did you eat 10?
Well, we had 20, and you only ate 1 because you said you weren't eating.
I was not eating.
You were
at the
fasting
time.
for 2 days.
Well, I wasn't fasting at the time, but I wasn't about to be on we were on a long drive home, and you would have been unhappy had I eaten more than 1, and I really didn't even want to eat that.
Well, I just felt for you because we'd skipped 3 meals that night because we drove all night,
Right.
got up in the morning, missed the
Right.
breakfast, got there, didn't get fed at the ball game. We were at a Tuskegee football game in Kentucky.
That's correct.
And then after the game, it's 5 o'clock.
And
We've gone since the game before, since the
who
Friday
was-
night football game I'd done the night before, and you, since we'd eaten it. I'm not used to fasting for 24 hours.
Who went with us?
Oz.
Yeah.
And Oz ate 7
He
or
had
8.
a few himself.
At least, there were 20. We got 20. We ate every one of them.
And
And
I
you
ate
got
one,
one.
so that means y'all split 19
That's right.
White Castles.
Yes. And Kobayashi Joey Chestnut Stout. And by the way, it's Nathan's hot dogs. You ask Tony, not Ballpark.
Oh, Ballpark that's not even real meat.
Is it? Most hot dogs aren't real meat, are they?
No.
But these are all beef.
Nathan's are all beef.
All beef and
Yeah.
good. Very good. That's what they get in the competition, too.
But here you want to know why I didn't eat anything on that trip on that trip home? Because when I don't go for 24 hours,
yeah.
you know what happens when I eat?
So it's going to be bad.
It goes right through me.
Okay, I got you.
So you would not have been a happy camper had I done what
Well,
I know myself pretty well.
We had a good time that season doing those games, though. We did several road trips, and I think that one of the funniest things
Drove
that
through a
happened,
hurricane.
we did. One of the funniest things that happened on one of those road trips was the one to North Carolina. We were coming back, and we had stopped in that convenience store, and they had a Dunkin' inside.
Yes.
Do it yourself, self-serve Dunkin'.
Right. And
grab, and you fix this. He said, "What is this?" And I told you coffee. It was a coffee drink, and you fixed it up, and you were all
Yeah.
pumped up about it. And we're driving down the road, and you're like, "Where's my drink?"
I
And
had
you left it on the top of the car.
top, and I did not.
And we were. Did you? I think you even pulled over to check, and of course it was gone.
That was so sad. That was like a $3 cup of coffee too. Yep. We should write a book about that trip because it was some, and some of the press boxes that we were in.
Yeah.
The one in Kentucky, I thought I had been in some bad press boxes in high school.
Well, the bad one was Lane College, Tennessee.
I'm sorry, it was Lane.
Because
Yeah,
that was
that's
the old one. That was the old field.
That was by
That hadn't been touched in
far,
100 years.
Yeah. By far the worst press box I have ever been. And that's saying, because I've been in some like at a Toggleville and some of these other
Yeah.
places. This one was so bad. And it was one way in and one way out, and we were on the end with a door. And everybody was walking in back and forth.
That
and,
is right.
And we're trying to do a ball game. It was not oh, wow. But I miss those days.
I do too. It was a fun season. I'm glad we
was.
got to do that.
A lot of fun.
Tony Mann, 26 crystals, 6 fries, 2 large cokes, and came in second. So he was in a competition. And
So
ate
you had to eat-
26 crystals,
But you had to eat
6
fries with it?
and 2 large cokes.
Let's see. That's throw-up material right
Yeah,
there.
it is.
That
That's the
ain't
thing.
right.
You can't win the competition if
Uh-uh.
you throw up.
Yeah, if you throw up, you're automatically
Yeah.
disqualified.
Eliminated.
Right, just like in Stand By Me, right?
Yeah.
You remember that?
Oh, gosh, it was awful.
The Barfarama,
Ah,
the blueberry pie. Is that wasn't it blueberry pie?
was it blueberry?
thought it was
They were
blueberry.
pies. I believe you are right.
Yeah.
They were blueberry because they were really messy.
And
That was nasty, yeah.
Contestants started throwing up, and then the people watching it started
Yeah.
throwing up.
I'm
So
gonna see if I can work
anyway.
on this segment for broadcaster of the year. best segment in radio history.
Hey, I have been watching more Stranger Things, by the way. Have you?
I saw that on the other day and thought about you telling me to watch it, and I just didn't get around to it. As I did actually flip through Netflix for a minute.
It's one of those where you're going to watch the first episode and you're going to think, I'm probably not going to watch this anymore. But I made myself go through, I've gone through 6 episodes. Now, it is nowhere near anything that I'm just like, I can't wait to go home and watch some more of it. But I have gotten involved with it now, and I'm starting to like some of it. But it's for me, it is really slow starting, really slow. And I don't know what your viewing pleasures are, but
I'm not a binge watcher like my wife. If she can get on
I'm
a
not
show,
either.
she'll sit there and watch it every day.
I can't do that.
No, me neither.
I can watch an hour or something, maybe 2, because that's the length of a movie. But that's it. I can't watch anything. I'll tell you what else I watched yesterday. The original first episode of Perry Mason. I had no. I don't. The only thing I remember about Perry Mason was
yes, I did it. Yeah,
he
yeah,
walked
I did.
and Ironsides didn't.
No.
Raymond Burr.
Raymond Burr, I know.
Perry Mason used to be on TV every afternoon in Montgomery. I don't know what channel, I don't know what it was, but it seemed like every time I would flip on the TV when I was a kid growing up, Perry Mason was on somewhere. And I never watched the show.
They still show it. Me TV or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So last night I'm just kind of going through. I'm looking for something to watch because the Braves are stinking it up. I don't care anything about watching them get shut out by Kansas City. And I come upon Perry Mason, and it's on Amazon Prime. And I'm like, you know what?
Why not?
Why not? And it's a good show. But it's, I mean, I don't realize I'm watching it 50 years after it
Isn't
originated.
it true
but
that you did that, Mr. Jenkins? It is
it's
true.
just, that was the one thing that was surprising to me. Perry Mason, the character, was somewhat of a, well, he cheated. He would do things that were unethical. I thought the guy was just like, Mr. Hey, I can win this court battle and you won't have any problem.
Who was your best TV attorney?
Well, I didn't watch much of Matlock.
Yeah, I was going to think of
So
Ben Matlock.
he might be, but I imagine you would find. We're being told we need to. No, we're not being told. We want you to talk on the radio because it's much better than me talking about Perry Mason. Trust me.
Well, I was trying to think. What Dan Fielding was pretty good too, wasn't he?
Oh wow! Now you're picking out some
Yeah.
doozies. Yes, Dan Fielding was definitely.
I'm trying to think of all.
I
the
don't know.
guys.
I was going to say.
I never watched L.A. Law either. by the way.
I'd loved L.A. Law.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Susan Day was on that show.
She
Eric,
was.
what do you got here, buddy?
Man, I just wanted to introduce him. I heard y'all out here kind of getting stumped out here talking about Perry Mason, L.A. Law.
Your timing was perfect. Yes.
I hope so because I was fit to say you remember like you were going to start talking about Andy Griffith.
No, I
Day
wasn't
or
going to
something.
Andy Griffith, but
You were getting close. Magnum PI or something, right?
no, not Magnum PI.
right.
Maybe Hawaii 5.0, but not Magnum PI. Yeah, the old Hawaii 5.0, not the new.
All right. Well, we got Mr. Miami Vice, Don Johnson. Right
Ah,
no,
Crockett and Tubbs.
That's
side by
it.
side.
That's
There
it.
they are.
Get the music out.
really and truly, who I was going to introduce today is his name's Jody Carter. He's been with our company for quite some time now. He's just been in another one of our locations. We moved him in. He's the new service and parts manager, so he's going to be over the service and parts, both stores. He just wants to be involved with the community, get to know everybody. He's relocating down here, so he's plugged in 100%. And again, his name's Jody Carter. Jody.
Good afternoon.
Hey, Jody, how you
welcome,
doing?
Jody.
Yes.
Appreciate that. I just want to, come on and say hi and let you know that I'm here for the service department and parts, just like Eric was talking about. And I want to get more involved in the community. I got some things coming up that I would like to get involved and be on the radio a little more, and some stuff that's going on with some of the football programs and some of the back-to-school programs I got to get involved with that I will share more when I start getting on the radio a little more, because this is new
We're
to me.
here once a month. You got to come over. That'll keep us from
Yeah.
talking about Perry Mason all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. But I look forward to it. Come see me, give me a chance to earn your business and respect that we show as a service department, and get back old school being type of service in the community as serving the community, not only personally, but for your automotive needs. Absolutely come see me. And thanks again I love being in Tallassee. Tallassee is a small community and I feel welcome, but I want to make sure this old homeschool service is still here for the car department, service department also. So please come see me, and I will be more involved with the radio station as we go
Well, tell me
forward.
before you run off here. Where's some of the places you've been? Where were you?
I've been in Huntsville, Alabama. I was a service manager at University of Key. I was also a service manager at Fayetteville Dodge, Landers McClarty in Huntsville, Alabama. I've been doing it since 1989.
Wow.
50 years old. I got 5 kids, so I'm a big family man.
Okay, when were you in Huntsville? I guess probably
Until 2 weeks ago.
from '89 until then.
Yes.
See, I used to work at a
From
radio
69.
station
From 69 to
because you grew up there.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So you're
All
a
right.
Huntsville native.
Absolutely.
See, I worked at a radio station there, and you'll know which one it is when I tell you. And it changed over time. It used to be called Beautiful 97.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the
Absolutely.
station I
Now,
worked
he
at
can't
after
admit
college.
he listened to that station.
But yeah,
but he knew it was there.
I did listen to that
You
station. a
did
little
listen
bit.
to that
Yeah,
station.
that was a kind of a classic old school.
Yeah, easy listening. That's what
Elevator
it was.
music.
Yeah. It was for the most
Just
part.
to be
yeah.
honest, yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
but
Not
I
that
was
there's
up.
anything
I
wrong
was
with
up there in the mid '90s,
Yes, sir.
and as a matter of fact, the guy that did almost all the sales there. Probably hit you guys up. Paul Peterson, I don't know if you know him, but he's still up there. I just talked to somebody in Huntsville this week. Says he's still selling. So
Absolutely.
yeah, well, that's cool. I know
5 kids.
I got 5 kids.
Ages?
Oldest one's 29. The youngest one is 18, and that's what
Oh,
I
you're
wanna-
done then.
Yeah, that's the reason I made my big move to Tallassee, Alabama, because my last one just signed a football scholarship, so I'm going
Oh, wow.
to Tallassee, Alabama to make my.
How about that?
Where's he
New
going to
home.
be playing ball?
He went to Union in Kentucky.
Okay, yeah.
All my kids signed. They played athletic. They
Well,
all went to
fantastic.
college education from ball.
That
but,
is fantastic.
I want to tell everybody welcome and please come see me. Give me an opportunity.
Well, you're always welcome here.
Give me an
So
opportunity.
we'll even set you up some music next time you
Oh my
come.
God, I don't need
What's
You
any
your
have a
walk-up
particular
music, yeah.
what is your walk-up music?
Oh man.
You got to have a song. Everybody's got a song.
I mean, right now we're gonna
Thunderstruck?
Go. We're gonna go with
TNT.
Dynamite.
Okay, all right.
That's what I'm talking about in the background. A little help,
a
little family love back there.
At least he knew the words.
He did.
Yeah, I'll give him credit for that. All right, well we got your walk-up music. So next
Thank
time
y'all
we
for-
see you,
Thank
I'll
you. Good luck with
plug
things.
it in here. We're ready to go. Thank you.
y'all. Y'all have a great day.
Great to have you
Thank
here
you, Jody.
in Tallassee.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. So hey,
Jody Carter, and in the service department. Be glad to work with you.
fantastic. Yeah, we're looking forward to that. All right.
Sounds good.
No more Perry Mason, I promise. Okay. No more.
I wasn't going to try to guide you back down that path. You're the one that brought it up.
I
though,
did.
Matt,
I
which
did.
is okay.
We
Perry
were
Mason
talking
was a
about
good
Stranger
show.
Things,
It was a
and
good
I
show.
ended up. Well, it won like I don't know how many Emmys. I mean, it was like the '1 show, non-news, for like 10 straight years or something. And
Was
that
it
thing
really?
on
I didn't realize it
forever.
was that big.
Yeah, I forgot how many episodes. How many? By the way, here's a good trivia question: how many cases?
Mm-hmm.
How many trials did Perry Mason lose his entire time that he was on TV? How many did he lose?
You know, the easy answer would be say 0, but I bet you there was one. They had to do it one time.
One time.
Oh, what a lucky guess.
One time he lost a trial.
I've got one for you, and this actually is a sports-related question.
Oh, thank God.
You know, yesterday I spent the entire day either here or at home working on football stuff. And I know you're doing the same thing, getting
Yes,
ready
I
for the
am.
high school
Yes,
football
I
season.
am.
Thing is, I'm doing one, you're doing tons. How many – this will be our 65th year of the broadcasting Tallassee football games, 66th season.
Okay.
How many games have we carried in 65 years?
Oh, my gosh.
Think about it.
Well, it's more than 6,000.
No, it's not that many.
600.
Yeah, it's more than 600.
Don't make me do math.
Okay, well, just take a wild stab at it. You know, you kind of got the
I'll say
parameters.
750.
689.
That's a lot of games.
We've carried 689.
And you haven't done all of those.
Oh, good gosh, no.
But you've done half
I got
of them.
thinking about it just a minute ago, though. I've probably done around 300. So I did some when I was in college, and even back when I was working with my grandfather in high school.
I
And
bet you have. I bet you've done half
I
of
know
them.
we've done 209 in the 2000s.
Well, I'm going to add up mine, how many I've done.
Yeah,
We'll get
makes
back
us
with
feel
you on
even
that.
older, right?
Yeah, exactly. All right, welcome back. Last Thursday. That means we're at Tallassee Automotive. We're having a little more of a conversation with our new service manager here at Tallassee Automotive, Jody.
You know, I told
Y'all are reminiscing Huntsville again. I had no idea that Huntsville meant that much to you, but
well, you know, I really liked it up there. I did. It was my
a good
first
town.
It was my first job out of school, out of college, and I didn't make any money. I'm going to put it like that. I mean, it was just
you're
one
not
of those.
supposed to.
Yeah, just barely got by on how I did, and based on what it costs to live now, I somehow made it then, and ate SpaghettiOs every night for dinner, that kind of thing. But it was a couple of years up there,
It's
and I
better
enjoyed.
romaine noodles.
Yeah, it is.
I don't
But
see
it was
people eat those things.
it was a good couple of years up there. I enjoyed it.
How many cans of spaghetti? No, I'm not.
No, it was it was a lot.
I'm not going there.
Well, my first job was working the third shift, the graveyard shift, overnights, from
course.
midnight to 5:30 in the
Were
morning.
you on air?
Yeah, just running the board
Playing the lovely sounds
of the Mantovani Orchestra.
Yes,
That was
here's
1001 Street.
Liberace.
Yeah, they played some old music.
Ferrante and how you say his
Ferrante
name?
and Teicher. or
Ferrante
whatever.
and
or
Teicher.
I think that's it.
Or Tishner.
Yeah, they did all of those instrumental songs.
Who was
So-
the guy? Zamfir. He played the.
Yeah, they didn't play much of that.
No Zamfir.
The pan flute. Yeah,
I'm thinking all of the KTEL records.
he wouldn't play Kenny G because he didn't like the saxophone.
Well, it's a little modern for.
A little too modern.
Yeah, a
too
little
hip.
modern for the elevator.
Yeah,
People might actually listen to
the
that.
program director was taking orders from the owner,
Oh, really?
and he wanted to push the envelope, and he would tell me to push the envelope, and I was like, I'm not getting fired. here.
Yeah, really.
This guy was right next door. If he finds me playing Kenny G, he didn't like. They played songs as well that were other than just instrumentals, but one of them that was off the playlist was "Make It With You" by Bread because he said it was not a good message. That it was about, and I
well,
said,
of
no.
course, yeah.
Well,
We're talking
it-
about
no.
sex outside of marriage. What are you talking
I
about?
thought they were talking about making it in life. I want to make it with
Oh.
you. Listen, look, and I always felt like he was misconstruing the
So
meaning.
now you're going to make me go listen to that song to see if
Listen
I
to
can
it.
figure out what it means.
Yeah, listen to it. I thought we should have been able to play the song, but I wasn't going to. I pushed the envelope a couple of times. When I'm in Montgomery, I work weekends on that AC station. I'm not going to give him a plug 'cause we're in the market now with him, but the adult contemporary music.
Yeah.
And I did push the envelope one time by just picking a song off of because the CD's up there. Everything wasn't on the
Right.
playlist. It was in the
Right.
CD rack there. And the program director called me. It's great saying, cool song, but we don't play it on the playlist. I was like, oh, okay. I just had a few minutes to spare at the top of the hour to get back on the clock.
Well, and if back in those days, right, you had to, and in our case, where the first time I was spinning the tunes, was you had that top of the hour, and it was a hard break because it was on the satellite.
yeah,
You couldn't miss it.
news.
And so you're trying to find something that fits in that window.
yeah. Instead of getting an instrumental and fading it out.
Yeah, which I had to do a couple of times. You had to find something that, and sometimes you had
But
to go
it's-
off the reservations to do it.
It's so funny that the station that was next door to this dealership right here for all these years, that my dad tells a story of a lady that worked there named Kathy, who not to be confused with my mother, also named Kathy, who also worked at the station. Everybody in our families worked there at some time.
Of course.
She would have filler at the top of the hour. The song ran out a minute early, and the news is at the top of the hour. And it's now 3:59
And 30 seconds.
on WTLS.
Oh, my gosh.
And we're
That's
waiting on
not good.
ARN News now from the Alabama Radio Network.
And you'd hear right after the music
ARN
starts playing.
News. I'm
Yeah,
Buzz
exactly.
Busby.
Exactly. Oh, wow. Those you have really brought back some memories now, thinking back to having to fit in those last few seconds of what are you gonna do?
Well, I was
and we
thinking-
never ended with a talkover.
Yeah.
We always finished with a song.
That's right. See, but when I lived in Huntsville, I was a loner. I didn't know anybody. I worked a third shift. And I
And when
joined.
you say third, that is
it was midnight
did you
to
go off at-
5:30
Okay,
a.m.
so because we went off at midnight. Where
Now,
I
I
grew up.
eventually moved to middays, and that was a great move. 10 to 2 is the best job in radio. I mean, you get to sleep in, you get off
Oh,
at
yeah.
2 o'clock.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you're working 4 hours a day, paid by the hour. It's not so good.
Right.
But I did start, as far as sports go, there was nothing there to really excite me. I did go to a Huntsville Stars game one time, though.
One time.
One time. And I played tennis. There was a tennis league, a USTA tennis league, and I got to know a few guys through that. So that's the only thing I did to kind of keep myself active.
And you're in a smaller work environment, so there's not as many people working there.
The guy that was the program director that I talked about did, right at the end of my time there, we had some sort of arrangement with the Huntsville Athletic Club and got a free health club membership.
Oh.
They had a racquetball court. He and I would play racquetball in there. And then it was tough to leave. It was, once I got that, I was like, well, mate, and they had indoor tennis courts and weight rooms and all this stuff. But, I had to go where the money was. They offered me, I think,
made the right
from
move.
$7 an hour to $7.50 to come to
yeah.
Montgomery, and I
Oh, yeah.
decided, all right, I'm going to take it.
Well, and we see where it led you, so it brought you.
All roads lead you
brought
somewhere.
you home. So that's what matters most. That was what you were born to do, right?
One of the funniest things, we were talking about this guy a minute ago. I won't call him out on the air, but our friend Barry that we used to work with used to work here with this guy.
Okay.
And when you and I worked together, this was before you came on. I actually got Barry to come in and work with us there. And Barry came from over here, and he also did some stuff in the Auburn area. And I'm not calling last names intentionally. But Barry told me the story later about how he talked to him. And he says, well, when he got the Montgomery job, you've made the big time.
Oh, wow. They didn't tell me that. I guess
Yeah.
they just assumed that I was taking a step down.
I did
don't know.
I did not realize.
I
that
had
that was
no
the big
idea
time. I didn't
that
know
was
that
the
was a
big
big
time.
time. I thought maybe
I would
New York.
love to know who told him that.
Yeah, and I thought New York.
Do you know
or
who
maybe-
said that to him?
Yeah, I do.
You'll have to tell me off the air.
Yeah.
Because I would love
Same
to
guy
know.
bragging about his ratings around town.
Oh, okay.
We're number one.
I got it. Yeah.
That tells you a lot right there, doesn't
That
it?
tells you everything you need. Everything you need to know. Everything you need to know. Let's get back to sports for just a second.
Yeah.
All right, Ken?
We're getting there.
We're rolling. We're reminiscing and we're rolling and all that kind of stuff. But I know folks would probably want to hear a few other things. I did find something this morning, and I wanted to get your impressions of this. Saturday Down South, there's a story, and I'm trying to find the best way to set this up. But basically it says that South Carolina actually played Clemson better than Alabama or Notre Dame.
Oh,
And if you remember, that was the last regular season game. I pulled up the stats. I just wanted to see because, of course, at the time that game was being played, I want to say Alabama and Auburn were playing pretty much the same time. South Carolina led that game last year 7-0. That's the only time they led the game.
Yeah.
And they ended up losing 56-35. Now, it was 28-21 at halftime. And part of the reason it was 28-21 at 28-21 at halftime is that the South Carolina threw a 75-yard pass for a touchdown with about 4 minutes to go in the first half. And that made it 28-21, and then I think Clemson scored the next 21 points, and it was never anywhere in doubt. But that's not my issue or what we're talking about here. My issue is, why do we tend to take one game and compare it to another when no games are just alike?
Well, common sense would tell you that's a joke to sit there and say this one. And you've gotten it a little bit. Clemson did a little bit. You can give a little case for Notre Dame, maybe. They were a good team last year. But South Carolina.
How many points did they score against Clemson? Was it none?
Oh, Notre Dame?
Yeah.
I can't remember the score.
It was.
I thought they scored.
If it was,
But
it was
the
like
differential in
one
points
game.
was 27, so they said
It was
we lost
never-
by
that game
27,
was
you lost
never
by
in
20.
doubt.
But you can't go through and compare scores. We say that in sports, and we can't take 1 week out of 12 or 14 or 15 and say that's the end-all, be-all decision maker on this game. South Carolina wasn't close to being as good as Alabama last year or Clemson or anybody else. They stunk. Simple, that's the end of it. I don't care if they scored 35 points on Clemson or not. You remember Georgia Southern running through Alabama like a tin horn. Do we think they were good enough to win, be the second best team in the country that year since Alabama won the national championship that season? Come on.
But we're doing that more
and more and more. And to me, that's about as shallow a way of looking at a team. We'll get into some other stuff when we come back. All right, welcome back on this Thursday. River Region Sports. Graham Dunn and Michael Butler. We're just discussing cell phones. We're not talking much about sports today. I guess that's just the bottom line. You're gonna have a hard time.
Well, we're trying to set them up for it, and it's coming at you hard here real soon.
Well, it is gonna be because, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, we got teams reporting for practice today. NFL teams all over the place are getting started. You got Arizona opening their practice today. How good is Arizona going to be? We'll go ahead. Since they're the team of the day, Khalil Tate, will he turn it around?
No.
Sumlin's not going to get the job done.
Nope. Do I need to say any more?
No.
I mean, really, how good will they be? 7-5.
No, I bet they won't even be 7-5.
Yeah, it is a Pac-12.
Do you agree? I don't know if you heard Lynn Scarborough with us yesterday, talking about how Oregon is expected to be the team to beat. I
snicker at that.
But what does that mean? Well, you snicker at it because they are the team to beat, or
no, because it's a joke.
You think they're a joke?
Well,
you think Oregon's a joke?
Well, look, the Pac-12 champion last year was Washington, right?
Correct. Lost Auburn. 7-5 Auburn.
That's where I was going with that. They weren't even good enough to beat Auburn. They went 7-5. Now, maybe I'm going back to making my one-game comparison like I did with South Carolina to Alabama versus Clemson or Notre Dame, but the Pac-12,
no, I don't think you are.
is a mockery. It's not that good. I've heard people talk up Utah. They were trying to say Utah might win.
I've heard that a lot.
Might win the Pac-12, maybe in the playoff. But the Pac-12 has had one team, Oregon, in the early year, very first year, make the playoff. Washington.
Yeah, you had Washington play Alabama. That's it.
They've done and they've done nothing. They just haven't done anything. So I think they're more relevant than maybe the Mountain West or one of those type conferences. But of the Power Five, they're the worst of the Power Five, aren't they?
I agree. And I don't think you'd get any argument from anybody.
I mean, and I could sit there and talk about how I love to pick on the ACC, but at least they do have Clemson, and Clemson has been that team, so they bring it up all by themselves. The Pac-12 doesn't have anybody. Oregon's an okay team. Don't get me wrong.
Well, and I think Oregon will be competitive, and I think they'll probably. I hadn't made my official predictions of who's going to win what conference, but by the way, I appreciate you sending me the picks already. You're getting an early start on those, aren't you?
Well, I told you I was doing all the football stuff yesterday. I went ahead and knocked
You
that out.
just went ahead and knocked it out.
Yeah.
I didn't open it yet, but when do you want them back?
They're 10 high school games by August the 5th for the,
August
for the
5th.
staff.
Okay, so I've got I'll wait till August the 5th at 11 a.m.
Right, when I see you, you just tell them to me.
Yeah, remind me. But back to Oregon and back to, just picking, which I haven't done yet. It's coming. Hold your phone. I didn't mean that in a jesting way.
It's going to cost me about $500, you know.
Well, no, you don't have to do that, do you?
Well, over time, it pays. That's what it ends up
I
being.
guess so. Anyway, I'm trying to figure out. I think this year is going to be a little bit different of a year. Alabama and Clemson got them. I think Georgia got them. There are about 5 or 6 teams that could fit in that number 4 slot, in my opinion.
Okay.
Because I don't think Oklahoma's going to be as good. By the way, Sporting News put
But
out
they
their
could still make it.
top 4. They could.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're not.
Yeah.
But they're no guarantee. Top 40 players in the country put out by Sporting News preseason. Jalen Hurts, number 16.
16th best player in the country.
16th best
Although
player in the
he's on the Heisman watch list.
Yeah.
And he's
don't
on
know.
a team that
I
wins
thought
it
that
every
was
year.
a bit high. I mean, I'm.
You don't think he's as good as 16?
Well, I don't know.
I don't know.
He's going to a new place.
Where
I just
quarterbacks flourish usually. Back-to-back Heisman winners.
They do, and he may be everything that Baker Mayfield and
I don't think he will be,
I
but
don't
I think
think he
he'll
will
still
either.
put up big numbers.
he
Because
probably
it
will.
is the Big 12 defenses.
But anyway, the point I'm making is that number 4 spot, and it may be 2 spots because they may not take 2 schools out of the same conference, which would be Alabama and Georgia. There are about 8 or 9 teams that I think could legitimately have a chance to get into the playoffs.
And you usually don't have a number that
And
big.
you normally don't have that many.
Who
I
are those
heard
teams?
I heard Trevor Matich the other day. He thinks there's 20 teams that can make the playoffs this year. I don't think there's that many.
I just don't know how that it's the same teams every year.
It has been.
I mean, how many teams?
one-
We've had
one
5 years
exception.
of the playoff. How many teams have made the playoff in those 5 years? That's a good
I know
question.
that number. Wait, don't tell me. In 5 years, I think it's like 18. That number, for some reason, is sticking
And
in
he's
my
saying
head.
there are 20 that can make it this year.
And I don't think so. I think there's 8.
He said, I'm surprised.
That's with
it's-
2 automatics.
And by the way, I'm surprised it's 18. I'm trying to think of all the teams that have been
I'm
in the
trying to
playoff.
remember, too. That number may be
Seems
too high.
high.
It may be high.
All right, well, let's go through it. I can do it real quick.
All right.
Uh,
Ohio State,
Ohio
Alabama,
State.
and Clemson. We got those 3.
Okay,
They're
Oregon
the only
made it.
ones
That
won
we
the
just
national
talked about them. They made it the
They
first
made it
year.
1 year. That's 4. Georgia,
Georgia has made it. Oklahoma.
Michigan
you
State, and
mentioned them already.
Oklahoma. That's 7.
Did you have Oklahoma already?
No.
I want to make sure I didn't count it twice. Washington, we talked
Washington,
about.
And
Let's just go by conference. Who's got it? Because you've done 8.
yeah,
All right, so the SEC has had how many teams make it?
2.
Nobody else has made it?
Georgia and Alabama.
That's it.
Yeah.
The ACC has just had 2
Clemson.
teams make it. Florida
Clemson
State
and Florida
Florida
State.
State made it the first
That's
year.
4.
So we're up to 4. The Big Ten, Ohio
State and Michigan State. That's 6.
Okay. The Pac-12, we said there are 2 more.
Oregon
and Washington. That's 8.
That's 8.
And there's Oklahoma.
So 9 teams.
I don't think anybody else has made it.
No.
So we have had 5 years of the playoffs.
So I'm sorry. I doubled it. It was 9.
And there are 9 teams that have made it in 5 years. The same teams
That's
make
right.
it every year, almost. There's no way 20 teams have a shot of making it.
No,
We've
I
had
agree.
9 teams total make it in 5 years. There's a chance. I guess we could do the old, well, you're saying there's a chance because that's about what the chances are for most teams in that 20 he's talked about. Now, I think in the top 10, which teams can make it? Well, the usual suspects. You just mentioned the 3. Oklahoma, Ohio State, throw them in there.
Michigan.
And we're going to throw Michigan in. They were
I
close
think
last
we have
year.
to because they're in the top 10 every year.
Well, if they had won last year, they would have made it. If they
Right.
had won that game and probably won the Big 12.
Wisconsin might be another.
Maybe. I just don't know about them.
Well, I don't either, but they've been a top 10 team. And I mean,
I'll
2
throw-
years ago, if they beat Ohio State in the Big Ten, they would have gone.
I will throw an extra team in that hadn't been talked about, and that's Texas. Because if Texas
Oh, by the way, we didn't remember Notre Dame. That's 10. 10
Okay,
teams.
so we do have 10. All right.
Yeah.
Forgot about Notre Dame. And Notre Dame's in the mix. Notre Dame is
They are in the mix.
They got a
They have
special
to be.
exception just because they're Notre
That's
Dame.
right.
And if they're good, they'll be in there. I don't know if I'd include a team like Oregon in this conversation. Of course, if they win the Pac-12, But I just feel like you're up against it in the Pac-12, especially if just to say they lose to Auburn, they're out of it.
Well, we said that last year,
but they're not going
with Washington.
But they're not going to win every game after that. And that's the only way you can make it. That's my point. You can't lose that game, lose another conference game, and win your conference, and go in as a 2-loss Pac-12 champion and make this playoff. It is not happening.
Which is last year why I said the Washington game was not setting up a great season for Auburn because we didn't know how good Washington or the Pac-12 would be. As it turned out, Washington ended up being a decent team, but not one of the best teams in the country, and Auburn ended up 7-5.
Yeah.
So, and I'm approaching that game the same way this year.
What, could Auburn, if you think they would have won the Pac-12 if they played in the Pac-12 last year? See, that's just it. I don't think they would have.
No, I don't.
Even though they beat Washington, I don't know if they could have sustained it.
I guess the irony of that is they might have replaced Washington in the Pac-12 championship game.
Could have.
Because they would have already beaten
Who knows? I mean, maybe you take a lot of teams and put them in that conference that are in good leagues, and things could have changed. I mean, the SEC,
Yeah.
but I don't know if it means they win that conference.
But you know what? I heard somebody, I think it was Ryan Leaf, who is now, I think he's a commentator on the Fox and doing some Pac-12 stuff. I think he's on their Pac-12 network. Yeah, he's trying. You know what? People don't give us enough credit out here, but it's really tough to go to Corvallis and play Oregon State. You may not think so, but you know, you get in that cold weather. I'm like, it's 85 degrees in Oregon in September. You might play one or two cold games, but you're not. And I get so sick and tired of hearing about the weather because these guys, every one of these teams, if you want to use that as an excuse, you go right ahead. Unless it's really windy or really rainy, then the weather is not going to play a factor in a ball game. Players don't pay any attention to the weather.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in one of these snowstorms and it's icy and all that, I guess everybody's dealing with the elements, and
that's
that
one
might
thing.
Change your game plan. How many of those games do we have every single year? Not many.
Not many.
Not many.
Not
even in Corvallis.
The one that I remember most was when Mississippi State played somebody in some bowl game, and it was Shreveport, and they played in that driving snow. You remember that?
How many years back are we going?
Oh, wow. Jackie Sherrill was the coach.
Oh, okay.
That'll tell you how far back it was. And Mississippi State.
Did he castrate any bulls before the game?
Not during, maybe before. But that's the only game that I can think of over the years where snow might have created an issue because I think both teams, they didn't bring the correct cleats. Because you're going to Shreveport, Louisiana. It's not supposed to snow in Shreveport, Louisiana.
It's not supposed to. Is that a beetle that's outside that door over there? That is one of the biggest beetles I believe I've ever seen in my life. Do you see it?
Oh, you're talking about a bug. You're not talking about a car.
Yeah, it's not a VW beetle.
I don't know what it looks like. It's
huge.
You sure that's not one of those cicadas?
It looks like a cicada.
You know, I'm hearing cicadas.
It's not making the racket a cicada makes.
It's molting.
Are they in that molting stage
right now? Yeah,
that's
why we're seeing them and hearing them right now.
Well, they're loud too.
I had one go off when I was walking in the door at my house.
Scared the stew out of it.
It did, yeah. Wow, we got through with this show, and I think we talked about 10 minutes of sports.
But it was some of the best sports talk you probably ever heard.
It was the best you heard all day, I guarantee it. We will be back tomorrow in the studio. Tim Gill scheduled to be with me. We look forward to that. In the meantime, hey, these folks will be here the rest of today till about 5:30 or so. A lot of activity going on. A lot of folks working to buy a new car or maybe getting some service done. We look forward to being back here next month, and you'll be back on the air in the morning, right?
That's the plan. 6 o'clock.
Are you going to get Jody to do what does he play? Flamly Fluid?
If he comes down, he's welcome to join us. Yeah,
that'll be fun. Hope you have a great afternoon. Paul Feinbaum, somebody hosting Paul Feinbaum, is coming up next. Stay tuned for that. We'll talk to you tomorrow.